Okay. All right. So I am take two. Happy to introduce Tina Hyland. She is a business strategist and culture coach who helps entrepreneurs grow and scale their business while taking the busyness out of running their business. She helps her clients become freedom filled, empowered business owners who live and work on their terms so they can live their own version of an extraordinary life. She has over 20 years of experience in multiple industries in areas of sales growth, strategy, systems, team building, and customer service as a corporate trainer and a business consultant. She provides her clients with a proven roadmap to help them get further faster. And her private and group coaching programs incorporate business strategies, branding, marketing, mindset, sales training, leadership development, staff management, and how to build and retain high performance teams. So she really focuses on all different aspects of business. Um, and she is the owner of and CEO, president, all of the above, with her company True Clarity Coaching, that focuses, like I mentioned before, on entrepreneurs who are ready to get out of overwhelm, establish a clear vision about their goals, and implement a step-by-step strategy with accountability to achieve them. So, one thing as we get into this group, I'm going to go ahead and pop into the chat a link. So, Tina has provided us with a worksheet to use while we go through this talk. So, I went ahead, everybody can click on that link to get to the worksheet. Please let me know if you are having any issues getting to it. And without further ado, Tina, I will pass it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lynn. I so appreciate it. And thank all of you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be able to meet all of you and speak to you today. So I want to just jump right in because I am all about getting my clients into action. And so I want to make sure that I maximize the time that we have together and provide each of you with some takeaways that can help you get out of the overwhelm, the overscheduled, and just the chaos that we find ourselves in today. So listening to your answers, I heard a lot of things that were very consistent. So, several of you are running multiple businesses. Several of you are managing homeschooling. Several of you, are trying to be more strategic with your focus and try to maintain what you can control because the environment is so out of control. And as far as the solution for how to get out of overwhelm, it's actually very simple. The solution is the same. The strategy is the same: to get out of overwhelm, to get out of being overscheduled, to get out of being overworked. And it's prioritize the tasks, get them on your schedule, stick to your schedule, give 100% effort to each task, and rinse and repeat. Show of hands, who knows that? Right. It's easy, right? The strategy is very simple, very simple. Simple strategy works every time. Doesn't matter who you are, it's going to work. But it's not easy to implement. It's not easy to commit to. It's not easy to stick with. Would we all agree on that? So I just want to start out with that because we all know what to do. Each of you know what to do. It's just a matter of whether you're doing it or not consistently. So a lot of times we put more burden and pressure on ourselves. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to give yourself the grace of knowing that you know the solution. It's just a matter of, will you implement it? Will you be consistent? And that's really what we're going to focus on today. And I want to be able to give you some strategies on how to do that more effectively. So a lot of times people say that knowledge is power. And I actually disagree. I think knowledge is potential power, but knowledge plus action actually give you the results that you want, which is going to result in that power. So our potential as an individual, as a human, is extraordinary. We have an extraordinary amount of potential. The results that we get, however, out of that potential are weak. And so that boils down to what we can do versus what we're willing to do. And that boils down to our beliefs about our ability to do it. I'm sure nobody suffers from this on this call, but maybe you know of somebody who is a perfectionist and who, sometimes takes longer to do things because you're trying to do it perfectly before you put it out to the world, or before you, give it to your team, or before you send that proposal to your client. And so we're going to talk about beliefs today because we already know the strategy. We just went through it. The strategy is the strategy. It works. It's been proven. That's the strategy. But what we need to do is we need to change our mindset. We need to change our psychology, because I can give you the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have the right mindset and the right belief, you're never going to implement it. And so I want to talk about beliefs for just a moment. And our belief is just a feeling of absolute certainty. And we all have our own individual beliefs. We all have things that we believe in. And no matter who tries to tell us differently, we are never going to be persuaded. Show of hands, who can say that that's true, right? And so you have that same capability. You just need to transition it into your work and your life balance. So with belief, there's no try in belief. You're not going to try to believe something. You believe it, you're convicted. So there's a difference between no trying and actually doing. And so when we talk about what we're willing to do, it usually tends to result in what we're good at. If we're good at something and we have more confidence, we're going to tend to want to do that more often. And so we tell ourselves sometimes that we'll do the things that we really don't want to do, or that we're not comfortable with or confident with. We'll do those later. And a lot of times we're just playing these mind games with each other, with ourselves. And we're convincing ourselves that we're working because we're doing all of this other busy work. And I'm not saying it's not important, but it may not be what moves the needle in your business. But yet we can convince ourselves that we're working and all of these other things that we're getting accomplished, but it may not be the things that we actually need to commit to. Show of hands, who knows what I'm talking about here? Okay, great. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. So the reality is that it starts with each one of us. If we want change, we have to change. We have to form new patterns, we have to form new habits, and we have to form new beliefs about what we're capable of and about what we're willing to do. And it's a choice. It's a decision that each of us have to make. And I want to be able to make sure that by the end of this call today, that you are considering making a different choice than maybe the choices that you've made up until this point, because all change happens with a choice. And the beauty of it is it's all within our control. It's all within our power. So we can make a choice to change just like this, in an instant. So for some of you, I'm seeing you're sitting at your desk and you're paying attention and you're focused, and I appreciate that. But I want to just give you a quick example of change and how uncomfortable it may be, but how effective it could be. So if you'll take your hands in front of me, and if you'll just put your hands together, just as quick as you can, put them together, take them apart, put them together, take them apart, put them together, take them apart. And when you put them together, notice where your thumb is. Did your thumbs always go to the same place each time? That's a habit. That's a pattern. That's your comfort level. Now take them apart and put them together and try and put your thumb back in a different position. Do that a couple of times. And how does that feel? Probably awkward, uncomfortable, a little more challenging.
Awkward. Very awkward.
How many of you, after one or two times, you just reverted back to the way you did it before? Right? So that's the power of our patterns and our habits. Doing something uncomfortable is going to result in the same thing. But we have the power to change that. So people know what to do. They just don't do what they know. We've already covered that. 80% of our success is our psychology. It's our mindset. It's our belief. 20% is strategy. Again, we've got the proven formula, but if we don't have the right mindset, we're never going to activate it and implement it to its full potential. So we need to focus on momentum. we need to get momentum. And momentum is what is going to be our secret sauce to making sure that we get the action that we want, that we get out of overwhelm, and that we don't get off course. And so with momentum, it's like priming the pump. You know, if you have a water pump, it's like priming the pump, or, you know, it takes more energy to shoot a rocket ship into outer space than it does to have it orbit the solar system. So it's a lot of work up front. It's a lot of energy up front. But once you start getting momentum, and as long as you don't take your foot off the gas, you're going to get to where you want to go. And when you have momentum, you're going to be able to not be as easily distracted. So that's what we're going to be focusing on right now. So it's all about choosing to either be a business owner or a business operator. And how many of you, by a show of hands right now, feel like you're more of a business operator than a business owner?
100%.
Yeah. So a business operator is going to be the one that's constantly, you know, working in the business, juggling the balls on the hamster wheel. We want to get you to a business operator. A business operator is very clear and focused and determined and strategic. They know what they need to do, they're doing it, and they're moving on to the next thing. So that's what we want to be focusing on. And so successful people do what others won't. And it's just the choice. Again, I'm going to keep going back to that because you have the power to make that choice for yourselves. So I want to just give you a couple of quick statistics. 50% of all businesses are gone in less than a year. 80% of all businesses are gone in 5 years. And 90% of businesses fail within 10 years. And that doesn't even mean that if they lasted 10 years, they're profitable. So I want to be able to complement the sheet that I gave you. And this is going to be something that you can use during our talk. But then I also want you to be able to take some time afterwards and really go through this because it's really important. I'd like for you to think about what is it that you could do if you weren't concerned about being perfect. What is it that you could do in your business if you weren't afraid of failing, if you weren't afraid of starting small, if you weren't afraid of putting yourself out there? So think about what that would look like. And also think about what is one thing that you can do today to add more value to your clients. Something that you can do today to add more value to your clients, to start getting you in momentum, to start getting you making those conscious decisions. Focus on the doing, not on planning to do something that you're going to add value to your clients. Focus on doing it today, commit to doing it today, put it on your calendar and make it happen. So too many times we get caught up in the planning and we don't take action. And that's what happens. We're not growing our business because we're constantly in the planning phase. So let's talk about what we can do to start doing things, or what prohibits us from doing things. And, you know, frankly, it's that other F word. It's fear. And so fear means false evidence of appearing real. It's what keeps us from playing small. It's what keeps us from not taking action. We need to just get out of the fear cycle of procrastinating and making excuses. So we need to replace fear with another F word, and that's faith. So faith, combining that with courage, means that you're scared, but you're going to do it anyway. It means that you have to do it. And so if you do it enough, you're going to get the repetition before you feel like it. So courage means you have to take that uncomfortable action. It means you have to do it before you feel like it. You have to do it before you're confident. You have to do it before you're ready. And you have to do it regularly. You have to learn not to negotiate yourself. By a show of hands, how many, and I am right here with you, how many are masters at negotiating with ourselves? It's so easy to do because we can just convince ourselves that it'll get done. It'll just get done later. So we need to make sure that we're not going to be negotiating with ourselves anymore. And your subconscious mind knows that you're going to break promises to yourselves. because we have patterns of doing it over and over and over. And so we have to get back to when we say something, we're going to follow through so that our subconscious starts to believe that we're going to keep the promises that we're going to make to ourselves. And the beauty of our subconscious is that it's going to start working in our favor. It's going to start trying to find the ways that we can keep those promises as long as we're committed to it. So we want to make sure that we are not negotiating with ourselves anymore. And just like any other muscle, we have to work it every day in order to get stronger. So I want to ask you something. Do you feel like, or would you agree that there's almost always a way to get to where you want to go? Right? So let me ask you this. Could you, for $1 million, could you lose 50 pounds by tomorrow morning? I see some head shaking no. You actually could. The answer is yes, it is possible. It's possible that you could lose 50 pounds by tomorrow. Now, it may cause you to cut off an arm and a leg, but you could do it. Hands up if you see what I mean here. It's possible. Now, you may not be willing to do that, but it's possible. So there's always a way. There's always a way to make it happen. So I want to give you another example of how that can be viewed in your mind. And I'm a visual learner, so I like to give a lot of analogies. So I hope that this is helpful. So we've developed certain patterns and habits in our subconscious, as we talked about. And we're going to relate that to our thermostat. So just like in your house where you have a thermostat and you keep your thermostat on a certain temperature. This is why some of us, and I'm right there with you, this is why we kind of go through that roller coaster. So let's say, for example, we set our thermostat on 68 degrees. And so what happens sometimes when we drop, when we're not maximizing our potential and we tend to procrastinate and not do our best, let's say we drop down to 58 degrees. So what happens is our subconscious kicks in and it says, hey, Janet, you're not a 58 degreeer, you're 68 degrees. So the heat kicks in, you get this sudden burst of energy and you start taking action and you start gaining momentum. And let's say you're riding that for a while, Janet, and then you get up to 88 degrees. You are on fire. You are in flow. You are in a zone. You are crushing it. Now, all of a sudden, your subconscious kicks in and it's like, whoa. Hey, wait, Janet, you're not an 88 degreeer. You're a 68 degreeer. So then the AC pops in and it kicks in and then you drop all the way back down to 68 degrees. Those are your limiting beliefs. That's the negative self-doubt. Those are all those negative things that are trying to keep you playing small. Show of hands if that's ever happened to anybody. And so it's frustrating because we say, well, I've done it. I did it. I did it last week. I did it yesterday. I did it last month. I had a great last quarter. Why can't I keep this up? That's why. It's because your thermostat keeps reverting back to where your normal is. And what you need to do is you need to create a new normal. Everyone got that? Okay, great. So the formula for creating lasting change and mastery is DCR. So please write that down, DCR. D is decision. You have to make a decision. You have to make a decision and make choices from a place of passion and power to create your momentum, which is what is going to be the importance of you answering the questions on your worksheet that we're going to touch on. C is commit. You have to be willing to commit to doing it whatever it takes, no matter what, whether you feel like it or whether you don't. And R is resolve. You have to resolve to take imperfect action. You have to be willing to do B- work. All of you overachievers, and I am right there with you. You have to be willing to do B- work. You can always tweak it and perfect it over time, but having the perfect solution does not benefit any of your clients if you never get it out to them. So I implore you to be open to putting out B- work and to take that imperfect action. The reason most people fail or struggle also is because they don't self-assess. So you can't manage You can't manage what you don't measure. So you have to self-assess on a regular basis. You need to know where to look and where you are right now. So ask yourself, where am I right now? You need to know where you are in order to know where you want to go. So this is going to be your GPS starting point. Just like you wouldn't go on a trip without entering your starting point into the GPS, you need to know where you're starting at. Don't sugarcoat it. Be honest with yourself. This is really, really important. And then you need to know, where do you want to go? What's your true why? What is your compelling future? Without it, you're going to continue to be distracted and procrastinate and play small or even give up. For those of you that have kids, if the house was on fire and you had to run back in because you thought all of your children were outside and you knew that one of them now was not, you would run back inside no matter what. Even though it was dangerous, even though people are telling you not to, you would do that because that's your why. Of course, you're going to do that. They're your children. With our business, sometimes we think we know what our why is, but it's not deep enough. It's not big enough. And that's why we're easily distracted. I can promise you that if you are really clear on your why, you're going to get up in the morning when you don't want to. You're going to do the things that are uncomfortable. You're going to take that action when you don't want to. You're not going to have any distractions. No one is going to be able to deter you because you are laser focused. So I really encourage you to think about those questions on your worksheet and really, give it some thought and do a brain dump and be honest with yourself. So a great way to look at this, to put it in perspective, is let's look at your life a year from now. So look on your calendar a year from today, looking back on your life, and you had the best year ever. What does that look like? What does the best year of your life look like? Personally, professionally, however you want to describe it. And in addition, what does that feel like? What does the best year of your life feel like? So that's going to be part of your homework, is to answer those questions on your worksheet. And so let's quickly talk about what can get in the way, because we all know things are going to get in the way. So 3 things are going to be the biggest distractors for you. The first one is outside influences. Those can derail you faster than anything else and really wreak havoc on your confidence. So that's going to be the news. It's going to be social media. It's going to be those negative people that either don't support you or always trying to tell you not to do this, or you should be happy, it's good enough. So that's the first one. Secondly, outside unqualified people giving you advice. So please be the guardian of your outside influences. I call these battery chargers. So you've got battery chargers that pump you up, and you've got battery drainers that steal your confidence and keep you playing small. So an example of that is you've got a single friend that's always giving you relationship advice, or you've got someone who has only worked in corporate and they're trying to tell you how to be an entrepreneur. So look at your outside influences. Number 1 is outside influences. Number 2 is unqualified people giving you advice. And the most expensive advice that you can ever take is bad advice, I'll just say. And the third one is inner influences. And that is what we do to ourselves, which most of the time is worse than anything anyone else can ever do to us. That's the self-doubt. That's the imposter syndrome. Those are those limiting beliefs that keep telling us not to do it, or we're fine, we should be happy, we're so blessed, we shouldn't want any more. So those are the 3 things that you need to be mindful of that are getting you distracted. So how can we get more focused? 3 easy things. I'm all about 3 simple, easy things, the power of 3s. Look at what you currently have on your plate, and you either need to eliminate it, delegate it, or automate it. So whatever is distracting you, look at your calendar. If you don't currently schedule things, I encourage you to start putting everything on your calendar. Again, you can't manage what you don't measure. So if there's any outside distractions or things that do not move the needle in your business, then eliminate them. And I call that making a not to-do list. So I'd like for you to start making a list of all of the things that you should not keep doing, that are stealing your time, stealing your confidence, stealing your momentum. Now, things that you're probably doing, overachievers, and perfectionists, a lot of times you are trying to do everything because you can do it perfectly and you don't want to delegate it, because by the time you teach someone how to do it, you could have already done it and you're going to do it even better. You have to be willing to let that go. You have to be willing to delegate and get those things off your plate. There are a handful of things that only you can do, that nobody else can do. It's why you're in the business that you're in. It's what sets you apart from your competition. And those are only the things that you can do. Focus on mastering those things and let the other things be delegated, automated, or just take them off your plate in order to move forward. And then the third is automate. So look into automation. Look into ways that instead of going to the grocery store and spending 2 hours, automate your groceries. You can pay someone $15 an hour to go to do your grocery shopping, get your dry cleaning. There's all of these things that you can do to get that extra time. But the point of that is, with that extra time, don't again put it in busy work. Focus on the things that are going to move the needle in your business. So the other thing that I'd like for you to do is pick 3 MVPs, most vital priorities. With your MVPs, you need to do what I call a Sunday planning session. So take an hour on a Sunday. Monday morning, you're already reacting. Take an hour on Sunday and think about your priorities for the week. What is going to move the needle in your business, and have top 3 priorities. And then for each day, what are your 3 MVPs that are going to get you to your weekly MVP, that's going to get you to your monthly MVPs. You need to put those on your calendar. Really important there. And then I encourage you to time block. So if anyone is not currently time blocking, I strongly encourage you to do it. There's a lot of science behind you focusing on something for 60 to 90 minutes uninterrupted. And the important thing here is uninterrupted. So when you do something and you put something on your schedule, you have to be willing to not be distracted. Turn off the cell phone. Don't answer emails during that time. For every time that you are distracted and you are trying to multitask, it takes you 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back to the level of concentration that you had before you were distracted. So if you can imagine that compounding over the day, that's hours of lost time and lost productivity and revenue. So I encourage you to commit to focusing on those 60 to 90 minutes. And I know I have a lot of people in the mortgage and real estate industry that are going to challenge that and say, no, but I have to respond to my clients right away. And I will challenge you back to say, if you were on an airplane for 3 hours, what would happen in those 3 hours? You wouldn't be able to respond back to your clients. So I'm not saying it's not important. It is, but there's a way to do that and still be congruent with what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, so that's the other thing. And so let me kind of wrap up here so that we can save time for some questions. The other important thing is to celebrate your wins, and celebrate your wins as they happen. A lot of times we do so many amazing things throughout the day that we're not celebrating, and then we forget all of the amazing things that we did. So at the end of each day, what went well? What can be improved? What didn't do so great, or what did I not accomplish that I can add on tomorrow's schedule? I have my clients rate their days and weeks, and I have them send me a weekly recap, a weekly tracker. So hold yourself accountable, rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. And then incorporate the steps that we just talked about so that you can have more consistent days, which will lead to more consistent weeks, which will lead to more consistent months, and you'll start to gain that momentum. So on your sheet, you've got where you've listed your overwhelmed, overworked, or overscheduled. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? What are your top 3 MVPs for the day, the week, the month? Create your not to-do list. What is one action that you can commit to taking today? That's important. Do it while you're in momentum. How will you hold yourself accountable, or who will be your accountability partner? You've got some amazing people on this call that maybe you can partner up. And how will you celebrate? So if you incorporate these things and just make sure that you remember that you are in control and you can make the decision, then you are going to be able to get out of overwhelm. You're going to be able to not be distracted and increase your productivity.